had those movies that we saw when we were like 7 and afterwards we couldn't sleep for weeks and we suddenly learned what the word insomnia meant. And I am certainly no exception to this. These are the movies that completely terrified me as a child. So, first off, we're gonna get to the progressively more scary ones as the list goes on. So, we'll start with the least scary of these, which is Henry V from, I think, the 80s. And, while everything was fine until the Battle of Agincourt, or more precisely, a specific scene in the battle where this guy gets skewered from his stomach upwards and blood comes spewing out of his mouth. Alright, it sounds a little worse when I'm describing it, but trust me, as a 10-year-old, it was the most horrific thing. My mind literally reinvented the scene to be worse in my memory. I know this because I went back to watch it before making this video, and I was like, this isn't that bad. I remembered, my brain was remembering like a fountain of blood spurting out as he gurgled and gasped in his last breaths, which I think is because to my mind then it was that bad because I hadn't been exposed to anything of the kind previously, where now I'm like, oh, that's not that graphic. What was my 10-year-old mind thinking? But I wanted to mention it because I was super grossed out. Next, we have The Ghost of Christmas Future from The Muppets Christmas Carol, specifically. This thing was nightmare fuel. Who decided to put this in a family movie? I especially hated it when he slowly took Scrooge away into the tunnel of the future. Anyway, I do distinctly remember putting a blanket on my head and pretending to be the ghost to scare my sister. Spoilers, I wasn't anywhere near scary enough. The third thing that really freaked me out is from the same movie. And this might be a bit surprising, but it's the Marleys. Actually, it wasn't the Marleys. I thought they were funny, but it was how they appeared. I thought the slow rising from like the bottom of the stairs and the bubbly sounds as they came up when you can see the banister was like the scariest thing. And this was made worse by the fact that my room was next to a long hallway next to stairs, aka to get out or in my room, I had to walk past the rather extensive banister. Whenever I woke up in the middle of the night, I would like sprint past the stair banisters to the bathroom and then sprint back to my room under the safety of my blankets. And this was my favorite Christmas movie, by the way. Don't ask. Okay, now we're getting into the really scary stuff. I'll just say one word: Pinocchio. Honestly, the whole movie gave me creep vibes, but the worst thing by far was Pleasure Island, and even more pointedly, the donkey scene. Now, if you've seen this movie, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. However, if you have not, actually, you should probably just keep it that way. You're lucky you weren't eternally scarred. But if you insist on scarring yourself, I will fill you in on this little terror. Basically, Pleasure Island is a place to lure little boys and turn them into donkeys so they can be sold. And in this one scene, we see the process of donkey turning rather graphically, with one of the kids gradually turning into one in one of the most horrific way possible, as his screams turn to braying and like, even thinking about this now, I'm reliving nightmares. I cannot stand this scene, even now. Speaking of people being turned into things, or turning into things, the next one is distantly related to this idea. Jafar as the old prisoner was insanely scary to me. And this one was worse than the donkey scene, only because I knew that you couldn't be turned into a donkey. So while the donkey scene was more scary while it was going on, it didn't have the lasting impact. This creepy guy gave me insomnia for 2 weeks, and I am not exaggerating. I was terrified. Some creepy old man would randomly show up in the corner of my room with his bad teeth and throw me in a pit or something. And even when I went to sleep, I had nightmares about this creeper. And last, but certainly not least, is the hag from Snow White. This hag was the culmination of all of the scariest things on this list, had the horrifying transformation of the Pinocchio scene, the slightly more believable factor of the Jafar scene, and arrival of the Marleys. This witch had me scared of windows for half my life. Well, not half, but a good portion of my childhood. Everything about her just terrified me. From the transformation to the window arrival. You know how when you're little and you sleep in your parents' room when you're scared? Well, I was legitimately scared of sleeping in there because that's where we kept all the movies. And for some reason, my child brain was convinced that the hag would be able to come out of the VCR tape and get me. Not to mention the hundreds of nightmares I had about evil hags trying to kill me as she viciously chased me through a maze. So that is my top 6 scariest things that I saw as a child. Honestly, Disney should just be bankrolling psychiatrists for giving everyone childhood trauma, since more than half the films on here are Disney movies, and they pretend they're a wholesome family entertainment. Ha! You don't fool me for 1 second, evil mouse. Anyway, thanks for watching. Share what movies terrified you in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.